Tonight my talk is on artificial intelligence security, which isn't really security related, but it's more going to address a lot of the concerns that people have over the rise in artificial intelligence that will soon happen and in many ways is happening. If you have any questions, just ask them right away, whatever comes to your mind. So does anyone really know what artificial intelligence is? Like, can anyone give a formal definition of it?
I don't think Curvis gave us a formal definition in 480, so.
Anyone want to even have a swing at it? Yeah.
Computers imitating human learning?
That's a very small subset of it. So basically it's kind of ridiculous. It's just any computer program that has intelligence, or yeah, in a sense, does what humans do. It's more of a paradigm of programming and a collection of very, very different strategies used to design programs, such as these. All of these are forms of artificial intelligence, whether it be word prediction when you're typing on your smartphone, or Siri, or any digital assistant, or knowledge engines like Wolfram Alpha, or your suggested search results, Google Maps, speech recognition. It really just goes on and on and on and on, and we're starting to see it more and more within our lives. But this, of course, does anyone feel threatened by this? I certainly don't. And this is what we refer to as weak AI, or weak artificial intelligence. It's all we have, and it probably is going to be all we have for quite some time, at least the next 5 years or so. But we'll see. There are things like Watson, which is a big knowledge engine by IBM, that is starting to kind of cusp, but still it's very hard. It does not pass the Turing test under any scrutiny, really, except for perhaps some very specific domains, such as playing chess, or until recently even playing the game Go. So yeah, it's really stupid as far as artificial intelligence is concerned, or what artificial intelligence could be. Yeah.
So what is the Turing test?
Sure, that's a good question. The Turing test is a test proposed by Alan Turing, that's the name, where it goes and it tries to compare or measure an artificial intelligence by comparing it to a human. In the original version of the Turing test, this was done through ability to go and replicate conversation in natural language. So you'd have, like, essentially your artificial intelligence would be a chatbot, a very sophisticated chatbot, and you would have to compare or see if someone at a terminal was able to determine with relatively, or with, if they could not distinguish whether that was a computer or a person, then it would have passed the Turing test. Since then, there are all sorts of other tests to measure artificial intelligence. Really, what it comes down to, though, is that it's very hard to measure intelligence. It's an entire field of psychology. If you're ever interested, just for human intelligence, let alone machine intelligence, which we haven't even really began to examine yet, just because we're in such an infancy of it right now. So the next stage beyond weak AI is called artificial general intelligence, and that is when AI becomes as smart as us. So it's supposed to be able to match human intelligence in pretty much any realm. It can reason, plan, and learn, and represent knowledge, communicate in natural language. And just to try to give an idea of how far away we are from this, because, I mean, we're close, but we're still relatively far. All of these are still relatively separate domains within the field of artificial intelligence. There's some overlap, such as with knowledge representation and natural language, with a lot of digital assistants and whatnot. But this form of artificial intelligence is what people are scared of. It is super scary, like super duper scary. And that is precisely because of this third aspect is it could be recursively self-improving, which means that it's constantly redesigning itself again and again and again, and just improving itself, and thus becoming more intelligent. So just to give you an idea of how intelligent we're talking about, here we have the brain of a human and the brain of a chimpanzee. Now, chimps, they're intelligent. You know, they can do things. Some can perform sign language if we are able to go and beat it into them through repetition and through relentless training. And then we have, humans, which comparatively some of the smarter ones, well, they're the geniuses of our time. But really, what's the difference in intelligence here? I would say not a whole lot. This sort of difference took several million years to go and get to. And for super artificial intelligence, that could come much, much quicker. And that is another reason why many people are very worried about it. Just as an idea, here we have like a chimp, a village idiot, maybe Einstein, still, vast differences in intelligence, but because of the recurring nature of perhaps general artificial intelligence, a super artificial intelligence is way far above. So, as I said, it would far outperform humans at any given task, recursively self-improving, and super scary. Like, big tech guys have expressed their concern for it, such as with Steve Wozniak, saying how they might take us over and they'll get rid of the slow humans and run companies more efficiently. Or Elon Musk, which says that we should be very careful about it and that there should be regulatory oversight, and even compares it to like summoning Satan or summoning a demon. You say, and all those stories where there's a guy with a pentagram in the holy water, it's like, yeah, he's sure he can control a demon, but it doesn't work out. Yeah. Just say it.
Yeah, were you saying that artificial general intelligence would be able to recursively self-improve itself into being super intelligent?
Yes.
Okay.
Or Bill Gates, which has expressed similar things, agreeing with Elon Musk, just, such an artificial intelligence or such a program would require great care when designing it. Stephen Hawking kind of has an even more doomsday view of it. But why the concern? I should also point out none of these people that I've just quoted are actually AI researchers. They're businessmen, they're theoretical physicists, they're electrical engineers, but they're not AI researchers. But seriously, why the concern? Well, perhaps it's this, or HAL 9000, or the woman from Ex Machina, or Ex Machina. Western society really doesn't have a very good view of artificial intelligences. We see them as superior and dominating, and that they're going to kill us. And perhaps that's kind of an affect of just being in Western society, seeing that we have this conquering mentality, which is debatable and I won't get into. But when we've been exposed to this, well, for decades, this sort of message that computers will eventually take over and kill us all, well, it's going to lead to some concerns, which can be legitimate. On a completely different note, Japan does not have this at all. Well, I shouldn't say at all, or at least with humanoid robots. If you'll notice, there's a lot of research going on in Japan, such as with Osimo, and Sony has some research into autonomous humanoids, and all we really have is Boston Dynamics and Virginia Tech. So that's just interesting. I find that interesting. But really, why the concern? I think it has a lot to do with the unknown, and that we're creating something that is vastly superior as far as intelligence to us. If you read a lot of these doomsday stories of artificial intelligence, you'll come across fears of manipulation and of confusion, and it's generally just a very alienating thought. I mean, between humans, we have empathy and sympathy, and the computer, it perhaps has no notion of that, or perhaps even no control or no idea of what is of morality or any of these very human mammalian things that we're so accustomed to and that we're so used to dealing with. But more than anything, I think it's just the fear of the unknown. There are question marks there, because you can't see it, it's unknown. I mean, we're dealing with super artificial intelligence, or with an artificial super intelligence. We're dealing with intelligence that is so vastly above and beyond what we're even able to comprehend. I'm sure many of you have kind of an idea of the intelligence that, say, Albert Einstein possessed, or Noam Chomsky, or Marvin Minsky, or any of these very high-profile intellectuals. But I mean, I certainly can't attest to seeing from their point of view. But there's this idea of the limits of it. With artificial superintelligence, that doesn't really exist. Yeah.
Yeah, so what's the pragmatism in terms of is that, so the idea of recursively self-improving to be more than what we created, how pragmatic is that even, I don't know, do you have any thoughts about that in terms of can we even create something that is recursively self-improving?
That's interesting. Well, I'll say this. Moore's Law, you have the amount of stuff we can fit on a chip double every 18 months. Moore's Law, though, is kind of questionable now. But we're moving on to even more compact non-silicon forms of circuitry, specifically with graphene, or such as with graphene. So Moore's Law could potentially be continued in that way. As far as recursively self-improving, I mean, that already exists. It doesn't exist to this full potential, to this full degree that would require for an artificial superintelligence, but it's still there. Such as take the project that Google's Deep Dream was taken off of. That went and looked up images through a training set, and then tried to identify features in these images and describe them to a very basic degree. And from there, I believe it did go over its output and try to rate the accuracy of that output, and it learned in turn from that. Yeah. So the recursive part is certainly there.
I guess I was just thinking about what you said. Before we're posing a question, I guess if we could create something smarter than ourselves, right? If we could create the first AI that's smarter than ourselves, then it means it, kind of by definition, being at least as smart as us, could create something smarter than it, and so on.
Well, yeah, that's the idea.
So I guess it's going to be a challenge. Can we create an AI that's smarter than us at any point? Because as soon as we can do that, theoretically, it should be able to do that forever.
Yeah, and that's
right now. If we able to force ourselves to our equal is possible. We don't know beyond just yet.
yeah.
But it seems like it should happen if we get smarter at all.
And with that said, a lot of this will require huge amounts of work from a variety of fields.
If it's possible, just theoretically, if it's possible to get to a point where it's becoming super intelligent and surpassing us, would it be possible, I know it's kind of to get empathy coded into a machine?
I believe there are a few research groups working on that currently. I should note, most AI researchers don't really pay attention to this. It's yeah, exactly. As Nathan was mouthing, it's not important at all. It's like this very far out there worry that, exactly, it's a pipe dream at this point. People like Ray Kurzweil like to predict that by 2045 or 2065 this will happen. You going and trying to measure the growth and the rate at which technology advances. And I can't really attest to the legitimacy of that. Ray Kurzweil seems like he's a very smart man. I'd assume that, and supposedly he's been able to predict some other things before, so I'd assume that maybe that has some weight. And generally, most AI researchers, when asked, will say within the century. I think it was like within a 98% confidence. I mean, that's of course subjective. That this will happen, but we're so. This is so far and away that it's not even relevant.
I'm just thinking, if we ever do get to that point, and because like 50 years in the future or so, could it be, like, could we bottle cap it until an empathy system is developed, and then kind of, I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, but if it's something that is constantly changing, couldn't it also just learn to get through the empathy if it would make more sense in an intellectual sense? Like if it would be more logical to ignore the empathy, and it's something that can learn, wouldn't it just learn to override that?
But then why haven't we done that?
I mean, there are sociopaths and stuff, right? Like that's probably the we just think purely logically and ignore.
All of this kind of falls under the umbrella of like, we really like as people to personify AI.
Exactly.
That it will have qualities
Exactly.
of people
Yeah.
when it really just won't.
Yeah. So there's no requirement really for emotion in AI, right? Like for it to be considered AI, it doesn't need to have those human traits, does it?
No.
Correct.
No, in no way. It's
And the traditional Turing test kind of implies that, but we've kind of gone beyond that.
yeah. The traditional Turing test has long been kind of ruled out as non-comprehensive. But yeah, a lot of this fear simply just comes from not knowing what the heck we're going to get into, and not knowing what will happen, and creating something that's that's seemingly infinitely more powerful than us, and infinitely more intuitive and intelligent than us. So yeah, the differences, as I was getting into, an AI runs on a Turing machine, is incomprehensible intelligence, and empathy and sympathy towards anything is dependent on the program, or might not even be applicable to the application. It's potentially immortal, and we're here just a bunch of meat bags being with warm fuzzy feelings and who we can all comprehend. So there's some legitimacy to the Doomsday story time or to the Doomsday scenarios, and I figured I'd share one with you, slightly adjusted, that was taken from a paper that I read a while back, whose author I sadly cannot remember. So we have this company, DMI, and DMI has generated an artificial intelligence. And this intelligence's sole purpose is to create dank memes. So this artificial intelligence is so intelligent that it can go and it can take a training set, process it, output it, and then analyze its own output, and recursively better the dank memes at which it produces. This is the artificial intelligence's sole purpose in life.
Yes.
That is Abraham Lincoln going at a lightsaber duel with Hitler.
At least you went on the right side. Like Abraham Lincoln's over Magnolia.
But so its sole purpose is to create dank memes, the dankest of dank memes, and that is all it'll do, and that is all it'll ever do, and that is all it wants to do, and that is its goal. That is its purpose.
It's quite hot right now.
Yeah. Part of it. So we have this other company, WM Co., which also has an artificial intelligence that creates dank memes. And DMI wants to go and try to make their artificial intelligence better. So to outperform WM Co. and hopefully gain more market share. Because, as you know, dank memes are a commodity at this point. So it goes and it asks its makers at DMI to let it go into the internet and find more super dank memes to add to its training set. And to find out what people like about what aspects of the dankest of dank memes people like and how it can improve itself. So yeah.
Is this real or hypothetical?
This is hypothetical.
You don't farm big memes?
Huh?
I noticed it says general artificial intelligence. Is it really that? Or is it just a program made to optimize memes?
No, so it's considered an artificial intelligence, or I am calling it an artificial intelligence. Okay. So,
It just has the task
of creating dank memes.
So it's generally intelligent, but you're just telling it how to optimize.
Yeah, it has many of the capabilities of a human, such as communicating in natural language, knowledge representation, reasoning, decision making. But it's like the goal at which the goal that it's pursuing, which has been told to it, because it is ultimately a computer program, is to create dank memes, and the best dank memes. So they let it out onto the internet. And remember that, yeah. Yeah, so,
Let's power through.
okay, sorry. Okay, so remember that this artificial intelligence only purpose is to create dank memes and analyze them. Create more dank memes and analyze its dank memes. So this artificial intelligence, however, is so smart that through a weird string of manipulation and events, it's able to go and produce these nanobots that slowly eat up everything on Earth, including the human race, to produce server farms so it can increase the capacity of dank memes that it can create. Eventually, all of Earth will look like this. Simply a dark server farm all over the globe. A little bit of flickering lights on the surface of Earth, but otherwise utter blackness among all of the servers and the dank memes. This is eventually what Earth will become. So it's these sorts of really weird. By the way, the original story was talking about a handwriting program. Yeah, a handwritten letter program. But I thought dank memes were more entertaining. So these are a more realistic kind of doomsday scenario of artificial intelligence, where we go and we tell it to do something, we don't really realize the implications of what we're telling it to do and the capabilities that it has. And these are the sorts of things that people get into their heads and imagine, and it's mainly why they're against the creation of super artificial intelligence. So we don't know whether to be afraid of AI. We have not yet developed that acts in unexpected ways that we cannot comprehend. Why are we scared? Because we don't know. That's the main talk. I also have this other bit, if you want me to talk about it, it's completely, well, not completely, it is related, but it's not as silly or as doomsday.
So what's a realistic view on ASI?
Don't think about it. It's not relevant now. I mean, it's cool to think about. Like, I shouldn't say that. I wouldn't be worried about it. It's so far off in the future that it's not even applicable. I enjoy thinking about it. Like the idea of having this thing on Earth that is hyper intelligent is appealing to me. I mean, it could potentially solve a lot of problems that humans are not able to even begin to comprehend the questions of. At the same time, you know, there are risks, but you know, you can't measure these risks realistically. All you'd be making are these assumptions based on kind of, or these assumptions that probably are based more on just gut feeling than anything else. I mean, there is analysis, and there is quite a bit of research and literature on the risks of artificial superintelligence, but it's not. Yeah, it's pretty out there, and I shouldn't say it's out there. It's reasonable literature, but this problem is far in the future.
You can compare it to how we saw nuclear power back when it first was invented or thought about, right? I mean, we have like nuclear cars, nuclear microwaves. That didn't end up really happening. So we're so far off, it's yet to be seen where it's going to be used.
Yeah.
You have time to go over the Chinese room thought.
Do you want to go over the Chinese room? Anyone interested?
It's really
Yeah.
cool.
Okay. Where's the pen?
Tristan has it. Tristan.
Here, I'm going to take your pen.
Okay.
I need the sword.
So, John Searle proposed this thought experiment that he published in 1980 called the Chinese room thought experiment, or the Chinese room scenario. And in that experiment, he set out to show that computers could never be conscious, and that they could never understand anything, and that they could never have this trait called intentionality. And all intentionality is kind of the assumption, or the idea that we are able to control our actions as humans. If humans truly do have intentionality, like I am willingly, on my own volition, choosing to pick up this eraser, or write intentionality on the board, or give this talk. So in the Chinese room thought experiment, you have this guy in a room with a bunch of books and file cabinets, and he has a window on one side, or not really a window, but more like a slit, where people can pass in messages to him. And he can pass in messages to him. The messages that they pass in would be in Chinese. However, the guy in the room, often just referred to as Searle himself, Searle doesn't know Chinese. He speaks English. He does not know what the hell the messages are saying, and he has absolutely no way of ever understanding the meaning of it. However, he is able to translate the message using this huge set of instructions within the room. And I shouldn't say translate, you're right, respond to the message. Thank you. He is able to respond to the message using this huge amount of instructions and scratch paper in the room, simply doing character matching. He goes and he writes out a response, which might take him years at a time. I don't know, sounds like a very complex program. Passes the message out, and the person on the outside reads it and assumes that the person inside speaks fluent Chinese. It's just a guy, a native Chinese speaker in the room. And with this, he aimed to show that a computer cannot really choose to do anything and cannot truly understand anything because the guy in the room cannot understand anything. And from this one article that came out in 1980, a huge shitstorm of other articles came out going and criticizing John Searle, and a handful of them that were supporting John Searle. And this has been going on for 35 years. John Searle, in my opinion, is the biggest troll in the philosophy of mind for creating an argument that is strong enough to be legitimate, yet porous enough to just attack relentlessly. So here are some of the counterexamples to it. A lot of people would argue that, well, actually, wait. I never explained how this relates to computers. So how this relates to computers, computers, in essence, do character matching. And in this case, John Searle, or the man in the room, is in many ways acting as the CPU. And because the man in the room cannot understand anything, cannot intentionally do anything, computers can never truly have intentionality or understand things or even be conscious. So a lot of the counterexamples to this are that while the man in the room might not be aware of anything, the system as a whole does show signs of intelligence. A lot of people, such as Ray Kurzweil, just don't really care and say, well, it doesn't matter in terms of super artificial intelligence or strong AI, which does the difference between, there is a difference between strong AI and artificial superintelligence, in that strong AI is supposed to have intentionality and be conscious in some ways. There are other arguments, such as, we could always go and model a brain on a computer, doing, literally modeling on a neuron basis or on a neuron scale. And even John Searle would argue that wouldn't create consciousness because it's just modeled by essentially a machine like this. And it just goes on and on and on and on. But I think it does kind of say something, if it is true, it does say something kind of powerful about super artificial intelligence, if it can actually happen, and that it gives us a little bit of room to see how it works, and see that it is in many ways deterministic. I also personally think that his assumption that we have intentionality is stretching it a bit too far, and it's something that no one can really, while it is comfortable to think, we don't really have much evidence for. We don't have any evidence against it, to my knowledge, or we do, but we don't have strong evidence against it. But like with our habits and behaviors, they're not entirely intentional. So that's the Chinese room argument in a nutshell. But it's kind of interesting. But still, it's debated to this day. And I applaud John Searle for being the troll of philosophy of the mind. Sure.
Are there any papers or kind of like speculations in regards to the applications of AI to security specifically?
Probably. I don't. I actually remember asking that question freshman year to a Ryan Miller, and he told me that was, I think that it does happen, or it has happened, and it does exist. But it's like super too deep for me, or 5 deep for me sort of stuff, personally. Probably like upper grad level, post-grad work. So, yeah.
There are papers that talk about applications of artificial intelligence in security.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, artificial intelligence is this very vague term used for a variety of paradigms of programming. So, any other questions? Yeah.
So just to be clear, there is not an AI that generates dank memes.
You could be the first.
You should make it. You should make it. Like, the memes that have text at the top and text on the bottom. Actually, no. There is an AI that generates dank memes. It's called horse ebooks.
No, that was fake.
No, it was fake at the end of it, but it was originally a NLP program, or
A really bad advertiser for
a really bad program that took constructed random phrases from using books on horses as its corpus. Follow it on Twitter.
hilarious. It hasn't posted in 3 years.
No, it's not active at all. But it's very amusing. Any other questions?
This is all fake.
Any other questions?
Any insults? Yeah. Oh no. Ah.